Hello everyone, it's Justine. Today I'm making a card using the Holly Jolly Gnome die set and the Dimensional Diamonds embossing folder. So the Dimensional Diamonds folder that I'm showing here, I showed you it on that red mirrored cardstock, which is gorgeous, but I used some green paper here. And as you saw on the back was a oops moment with my glimmer machine. I didn't quite glimmer it correctly, and instead of throwing it away, I'm choosing to repurpose it for this card. And so that embossing folder is part of the 3D or holiday 3D embossing folders. And there's that one, and there's also the scenic poinsettias, and that one's really pretty too. So I think that this one is a little more universal for other cards as well as, Christmas themed, but it's coming out as a holiday one, so we're calling it a holiday one. And this Holly Jolly Gnome is a swinging die, which is always so fun. I love swinging dies. I really like the one with the little bunny that came out earlier this summer or spring. But the Holly Jolly Gnome die is from the Gnome for Christmas collection. So if you're interested in gnomes, I would definitely check out that collection. There's a gnome tree, and there's also a couple different stamps, so I definitely would check that out. I'll have everything linked in the description for the materials that I use on this card. So to make the gnome, there are quite a few little pieces that you need to use. So here's the Holly Jolly that makes the ornament. And if you can see, there's this little shoe, and to make both shoes is 6 pieces of paper. So it's 2 for the actual shoe and then 2 pieces for the soles of the shoe. So I chose to use black and gray to make those shoes. Then the beard is just that white piece of paper there. There's a hat. There's the bow. To make the bow, you need to die cut out 2 of the ribbons and 2 of the looped bow areas. There's the little arms there. There's the nose, the swinging element, the mittens, the ornament topper, and the body of the gnome. So there's a ton of pieces, but they're really cute and totally worth the time it takes to die cut out. So as I assemble my card, I just kind of plan out in my head, where is the swinging element going to rest? And once I put that little dimensional dot on there, that kind of gives me a frame for the rest of my card. So I am going to use the long piece there that holds this ornament to really kind of anchor all of my swinging on. So what will go on the swinging area is the whole gnome, the whole body of the gnome, and this ornament. Then to cover up the swinging area will be the bow. So it's kind of a neat way to hide the swinging element. I know with the bunny, they have clouds. There's also a couple different Halloween swinging cards. There's one with a ghost and one with a mummy. So it's kind of neat to see different swinging elements. There's also from a different collection, so not from the Gnome for Christmas, but from the Tinsel Time collection, there are the Dancing Deer, Dancing Snowman, and Dancing Saint Nick. So there's all sorts of little swinging elements that were just released here from Spellbinder, so it's kind of neat to see. Now to make the bow, there are these 2 pieces that come out from the looped area, and I used a darker red cardstock just to show dimension without actually making it have dimension. And since there isn't anywhere for those pieces to rest, I am just using some double-sided tape that I have left over from a card kit of the month and just taping it down on the back. And no one will ever see it, so it's not really a big deal at all. Now I'm going to start building up my gnome and ornament swinging element. So I have my ornament, that's the bottom, the lowest part, so I'm going to work my way up. I'm going to add my gnome body to the top of this ornament and just kind of put it off to the side. This way I will have room for the rest of my gnome without leaving too much of a area for the swinging area. But I also don't want to leave not enough because the bows are going to come down and I don't want the gnome to not have enough room, and I don't want him to peep up behind the bow too much. If his hat is in there, that's okay, but I didn't want the gnome to be hidden by the bow. So as I add more and more pieces, I just am kind of keeping in mind the distance that my gnome will have with the swinging element. I'm going to put this right hand on, and that's going to just kind of rest there as like a hello kind of a motion that the gnome is making. And I should have glued my beard on behind my ornament, so I'm going to end up trimming it off in a little bit here, but for now it's hanging over the holly jolly ornament. So that left hand, or that's on the right side of the screen, but that left hand of the gnome is kind of waving or kind of expressing like, oh, this is a fun time. And now this hand is going to be the one that is holding on to the ornament string. And it's going to be hidden behind this shoe, so you won't see where the arm attaches. And the other shoe is going to go kind of off to the side, and it's going to have the top of the ornament on it, so it's not really too big of a deal where that's placed. Then I'll add the top part of the sole and the heel. Again, those little pieces are a little finicky, but with a jewel picker or a double-sided tweezers, they're really easy to put together. I think that this card in general took me probably about a half an hour total to make, including the die cutting and assembly, so it's a kind of a fun special card that you could give someone. Now, as I said before, that beard is a little low, and I am going to have to cut it so that ornament piece can go on there. And I ended up cutting off part of the mitten as well, because really the mitten should have been glued behind the arm. But learn from my mistake if you're going to make this card, and or not, you could just cut the hand as well, just like I did. But it doesn't really matter because glue can go really anywhere, and it's just fine. But that's part of crafting. It's trying something and making something work, and if it doesn't work, just starting over. We've all been there. Now this last part of my card is going to be the top, the bow here, that kind of hides where the gnome swings on. It also will secure on my swinging element from falling completely off. Now with the swinging elements, usually you use foam tape or foam circle squares, whatever, to kind of hide that area. So that is what I am going to do with the bow. Now, you need to be careful if you remake this card to put the foam where it does not mess with the gnome at all. On mine, I put mine a little too low on the left part of the card because the hat kind of bumped into it. So I ended up, after putting on the foam right here, right there, I ended up just taking that off with my tweezers once the rest of it was on, so my gnome could wiggle just a little bit more. In general, I did have a lot of fun making this card and will remake it again. Maybe I'll change up the colors and do something a little different besides red and green, but we'll see. The last part that I am going to do with this card is add just a little bit of Wink of Stella to the bow, which is basically just a glimmer shimmery pen that adds very fine glitter. So it's optional. If you've enjoyed this video, please hit the like button and subscribe to my channel for more videos in the future. And I'd love to show you more things that I make, so stick around. In August here, I'm going to have almost a video every single day, so stick around and see some more things with the core collections from Spellbinders. All right, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a really great day. Bye!